if you had to give some advice to a CIO who's considering implementing HANA, what advice would you give them?
I think I would probably say that first of all, I'd advise him to get his IT and his business people together in one room, and to get them to work together, because they'll need to cooperate to come up with a decent solution, and to identify the use cases and the ways in which they might get some benefit from something like SAP HANA, and to challenge them to sort of break some of the things, and that, you know, to change, to be able to prepared to actually look at changing the way in which they do things currently in their business, but to identify where they think they have some issues with big data, where they need things to be processed very quickly. I mean, I can think back to scenarios with companies that had overnight processing that might have taken, say, 36 hours, which was just ludicrous. So there are going to be some obvious, you know, areas where they can challenge from the big data perspective, but particularly to actually think about, I now can analyze data very quickly. I could turn around and I can give you real-time, instant information. And picking up on the mobility point that you raised a moment ago, I mean, mobility is about delivering information at the point of action, so that when somebody is wherever they are, they've got some information which is saying, this helps you make that decision because this is what's going on, because they've gathered the data and they've transformed that data and they've calculated it up, or they've done whatever it is they need to do, and so they can deliver some information at the point of action. So challenge what they do currently, make them think outside the box, make them think differently, and identify where's the win-win situation for us. Take that little nugget and go and do something with it, and that gives you a good start.
Incremental advice?
Yeah, I think I'd probably recommend a kind of pincer movement on it. So I think taking what I'd describe as, you know, the strategic approach that Mike's just suggested, I think absolutely, you know, you're going to have, at some point, you're going to have to build that business case, and it's going to have to be robust. I would also encourage people to start, you know, find their most talented, you know, developers or technical business analysts, whatever they call them, and get them engaged in, you know, this free education material. You know, get them having a play with HANA, just get them to be able to log on to it and, you know, create their first table, load some data, just to build that grassroots confidence that it's not voodoo and black magic. You know, it's this stuff that, you know, mere mortals can learn. And I think if you do those things together, then you're going to be starting to incubate a level of skill that you can then use in your projects moving forward. I think the other advice I give a CIO is keep monitoring what's coming out from SAP. So they're launching, you know, HANA-driven applications. So there's one called Operational Process Intelligence, which gives you real-time monitoring of end-to-end processes, that was launched at Sapphire. You know, that didn't exist 6 months ago. It's a new application. So there's almost there's still a buy option. You know, if your IT strategy is, we're not going to build, we're going to buy. So we're going to be a fast follower. So let's assume somebody is going to out-innovate us, but our strategy is we're going to be a fast follower. So we're not going to, you know, take the early adopter tax, but we're going to follow fast. And if you're going to take that strategy, then just make sure you've got people monitoring things like the SAP Developer Network and the SAP-HANA.com to make sure you know what's going on, and then you can ride the wave when you choose to do it. So probably those three things of strategy, grassroots stuff, and keeping up to date.
Okay, Owen. While we're chatting, Mike did mention mobility, and Red Commerce did a market study earlier this year that suggested that companies that have a mobility strategy already see HANA as being part of that, an integral part of that. Do you see the same thing, that if companies are looking at their mobility strategy, their mobile strategy, should they be looking at HANA as an obvious and integral part of it? And is that also true for cloud strategies and cloud implementations?
I think the two things have got slightly separate dynamics. So I think as far as mobility is concerned, I think we're moving to a position where, you know, people really shouldn't have a mobile strategy and a HANA strategy and a ERP strategy. They need something that says they're more holistic. How are they blending together these nexus of forces, as Gartner refers to them, to get that competitive advantage? And I think where they become connected is that HANA enables you to do stuff that you would have just not imagined possible. So mobility, as Mike said, is quite a lot about personalization. Personalization gets driven by lots of data, and where in the past you would have gone, oh, we can't do that because the thing won't respond quickly enough. we can then say, well, if the HANA's providing the information, then we can have that website personalization that means I know who you are, so I get, you know, how hiking and you get skiing or whatever advertised to you as you log on. So those kind of things are I think, are where those two things come together. I think as far as cloud's concerned, that's really, you're going to get HANA kind of baked into those cloud applications, certainly from SAP. So you might see people thinking about moving from on-premise to cloud, and one of the drivers, and it would only be one of the drivers, would be, well, if we make that move, then we get HANA baked in to the package as well. Therefore, this product can do more than my on-premise product can do.
Well, then, if you look at the messages that were sort of coming out of Sapphire, and also coming out of the SAP Insider event in Amsterdam, you know, SAP are talking about that one of their key focuses now is to improve the user experience. Now, you know, we've sort of talked about doing that for the last 40 years, you know, including the last 20 that I've been involved with SAP. Do you see HANA as an integral part of that whole, let's make the whole user experience better? Or do you see HANA as just sort of sitting in the background quietly chugging away outside of that?
No, I see it absolutely as an integral part of it, because I think as you start to see, you know, they've been branded these Fiori apps. If you see them running against a system that's not powered by HANA, and you see them running against a system that is powered by HANA, it's the kind of, you know, there's chalk and cheese, you know. So if the objective is just making things look a bit better, then you get that with Fiori. But if you want it to be, you know, an engaging user experience where it's, you know, click, do something, click, do something, click, do something, then that's where having HANA underneath the engine starts to make those apps truly responsive and gives what Mike referred to as the kind of what people are just expecting. You know, they talked about this sort of me generation, or the millennial generation, where perhaps, you know, with you and I, we were prepared to look at the, you know, the spinning wheel on the desktop, whereas these guys are just used to a Facebook experience where, you know, Facebook doesn't say, wait a minute while I update, you know, it's real time. So people are kind of just expecting that, and I don't think you're going to get that from the new user interface needs that back end to drive that, to mean those services are coming back as quickly as they possibly can.
Now, we mentioned before that HANA is 2 years old. So are there some great success stories? Are there some really good examples of a decent return on investment that we've seen from companies that have implemented HANA?
I think the real detailed ROI cases, the best place to go and look for those is to look at, you know, SAPHANA.com. SAP have got these different clubs where they've tended to talk at the moment in terms of how fast things got as opposed to how much a customer saved. Yeah. So, you know, if I can run MRP in 4 seconds instead of 7 hours, that's kind of impressive. But how do I monetize the 6 hours and whatever 59 minutes I've saved? You know, what does that mean? And I still think we're a bit light on the ground in terms of actually seeing, you know, real definitive, you know, how did the speed turn into that ROI. But I think that's just, you know, we'll see those this year. You know, there are more people. If, you know, 2 years is quite young for a software product. So in terms of people, you know, people used it, experimented. We're now seeing people, I guess, adopt it at an industrial scale. And only once we get to that industrial scale do I think you'll see those ROI cases. I think there are well-developed models to say, you know, therefore, how do you turn time into money? You know, we've been doing those for years. Sure. But specifically around HANA, people you know, help in terms of helping people understand how that works. Are you saving time? Are you, are you taking decisions in the moment or whatever it might be, and those kind of things to turn it into a business case.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. You know, we seem to have come to a conclusion that HANA is a 2-year-old baby, but it's up and walking and getting ready to run. So, thank you for your input, and we'll look forward to see what happens over the next couple of years.